Return of the Mount Hua Sect, Chapter 187. With those skills. The face of Tangjan went stiff. What is this brat talking about? Verification. Who would verify whom? That brat, a disciple of Mount Hua, would verify his family. Grunt. Tangjan clenched his fists. Before he could even open his mouth, his younger brothers that were standing on his left and right sides opened their mouths. Hyung, these people must have lost their minds. We tried to be as polite as possible to avoid conflict with Mount Hua, but isn't this a different story when they pick a fight with us first? His younger brothers also failed to contain their anger and impatience. Thinking about it, however, it was normal. When had they ever been treated like this? Have the people of Mount Hua really lost their minds altogether? He could understand that drunkard's behavior. As the size of a sect grows, one or two idiots are bound to be born within it. But how was it possible that the entire group before them were all the same sort of bastards? It would be a different story if Baekchun fought for Jogul by himself. But this was no different from saying that Mount Hua sees the Tang family as insignificant. Clench. Tangjan clenched his teeth and looked at Baekchun with eyes that seemed to say he wanted to rush over and kill him. Can you take responsibility for that? I've always been responsible with my words. There's no reason for my words to be different this time around. Baekchun spoke with ease. Hearing that made Tangjan's anger rise even higher. It was often said that a man goes silent when anger hits the peak. Mount Hua seems like a great sect. You even dare to block the Tang family to protect one of your own disciples. Are you sure you can handle this? Baekchun smirked. It doesn't seem like the Tang family will understand. But our Mount Hua doesn't waste time thinking about protecting the disciples of our sect. What is there to calculate when our first priority is one of our own? It's unlikely. But even if Mount Hua is destroyed because of this, none of the disciples will blame me. That's what Mount Hua is. Such touching words. However, the other disciples' reactions were completely different from the expectations. What did you say? That's a bit much. I'd probably blame you. Aren't you making yourself shine too much? Baekchun closed his mouth with a slightly flushed face. Idiots. Can't even shut their mouths during these moments. Anyway, no matter what the disciples of Mount Hua thought, Tangjan didn't need to take this into account. The important thing was how to punish the man who dared to ignore his family. Righteous Sword of Hua, the man who defeated Wudang's Sword Dragon. Some might put this man ahead of the Divine Dragon. Unlike Mount Hua's Divine Dragon, whose achievements were thought to be exaggerated due to the bizarre and extreme rumors, what this man had accomplished was clearly proven. In particular, was the defeat of Wudang's Sword Dragon suffered by his hands. That was one of the 5 dragons of the martial world. Wasn't that feat enough to evaluate his power and regard him as a new member of the 5 dragons? There are no shortcomings as an opponent. Tangjan stepped ahead. I am Tangjan of the Sichuan Tang family. Be careful. I'll let you know that mercy doesn't exist from my hands. I am Baekchun of Mount Hua. There's nothing to worry about. My sword knows how to show mercy. Even till the end, you freaking bastard! Tangjan was about to slide his hand into his sleeve when Chongmyung suddenly emerged from behind Baekchun with a sullen expression. Then why are you fighting? Huh? Baekchun looked back, ignoring Tangjan, who was halfway prepared for battle. Huh? Is he really crazy? Turning his back on the opponent was unacceptable. However, aiming for someone's defenseless back was also an act that couldn't be done by rightful Taoists. Thanks to that, Tangjan had to watch what Baekchun was doing with his eyes wide open. Sasuk, you've kept getting involved for a while. Isn't this something Jogul Sayong should take care of? Sen Jogul. I know that Sasuk is greedy for moments to show off, and what you did was cool enough. Now you need to give Jogul Sayong a chance to show off. It's been a while since he met his parents. Baekchun's eyes trembled. Who the hell do you think the Tang family are? Tang family. The Sichuan Tang family. The noble family was known for poison and memorization. Even those with strong bones within the best sects would be in danger if they made a small mistake while dealing with people of the Tang family. Yet Chongmyung wanted to make Jogul, who had little practical experience, deal with such a family. Isn't it too dangerous? It's fine, totally fine. It is said that a tiger must drop their cub off a cliff in order to grow. Then it dies, you idiot. If a tiger could hear such an absurd phrase, it would surely feel wronged. Chongmyung clicked his tongue at Baekchun's reaction. Look at the person above us. Chongmyung knew very well what Baekchun was worried about. However, the act of caring for and protecting someone doesn't always help them. To coddle someone and protect their future is the same as robbing them of experience in the present. It was also something that Chongmyung was most wary of. He knew very well that if he took care of everything, then his descendants would lose the chance to grow up properly. They needed to gain as much as they could from Chongmyung while minimizing the amount they would lose. Does Jogul Sahyung look so weak? Chongmyung spoke with a smirk. He wouldn't lose to those guys. Baekchun's face hardened. His trust in Jogul was evident with these words. Surely. How well did I roll him on the ground? If only he didn't speak, maybe it would have been a touching moment. Did Chongmyung know what Baekchun was feeling? Because he suddenly looked at Jogul. Am I wrong, Sahyung? Jogul nodded his head. Lose. He wouldn't lose. This was no problem. This was an issue between Jogul and the Tang family, so the solution should come from Jogul. Jogul looked at Chongmyung. But this guy... If Chongmyung were to step forward, this would be resolved easily, because this guy was like a dokkaebi that could solve everything. But Jogul understood. I cannot keep hiding behind Chongmyung's back forever. He never had the thought of becoming a burden to Chongmyung. He would never have come along if that was the case. Jogul knew that he was far from Chongmyung's equal in strength, but he at least wanted to help. That was the least he could do to stay together with Chongmyung. If he couldn't solve such matters by himself, wouldn't it be better for him to just die? Sasuk! Baekchun looked at Jogul. I understand Sasuk's words, but this is something I need to deal with. Baekchun sighed. Can you do it? Jogul smiled. I am a disciple of Mount Hua. At this moment, nothing else in the world could be more reliable than this statement. Baekchun received Jogul's laugh with a smile. Go. Yes. With Baekchun and Chongmyung behind him, Jogul walked out as Tangjan frowned. You. Wasn't I the one you wanted to evaluate from the start? Jogul touched his sword around his waist. Then, wouldn't it make sense for you to deal with me? Tangjan straightened. How dare he? It was understandable for Baekchun and Chongmyung to behave so arrogantly. It's common for a dog to naively challenge a tiger without understanding fear. But not Jogul. There was no way that this one, who was born in Chengdu, could be unaware of the Tang family's fearsome nature. Even so, Jogul was confidently challenging him. Tangjan felt that any further discussion was unnecessary. There was no room for courtesy left to give. It was enough to warn everyone what it meant to break Jogul for returning here to go against the Tang family. However, there was just one more thing. You'd better not think this will end quickly. Tangjan, who was determined to release all the insults he had received here, wore his family's green gloves. The green leather gloves, carried by the people of the Tang family, were made of deerskin treated with special drugs to prevent the poison from penetrating themselves. Wearing these green gloves could signal that they would be using poison, but it also meant that they were going to be on alert when dealing with an opponent. Jogul looked at Tangjan with sunken eyes. The confrontation between the two began. Everyone watching was silent and still, but there was only one person who couldn't maintain their composure. Jo-pyung. Jo-pyung seemed to be losing his mind ever since his son had stepped forward. My God, no! Jogul stepped forward to deal with Tangjan of the Tang family. Who was Tangjan? He was recognized for his outstanding talent among the terrifyingly gifted people of his family. It was insane to see his son, Jogul, attempting to deal with him. Terrified, he couldn't turn away. We must stop him. There was nothing more that he wanted. However, he could see the anger of the Tang family falling on his merchant chamber if he tried to protect Jogul right away. Disciple Tang, this is... All he could think of was coming up with some way to cover up the situation. But at that moment... Father! Gul! Jogul looked at his father with determined eyes. This isn't just about liberation from the Tang family, but also about Mount Hua. Please trust me and wait. What are you even talking about? Shring! Jogul's answer came from his hand rather than his mouth. He drew his sword as he stared at Tangjan. The Sichuan Tang family. At one time, this name echoed in his heart as a symbol of fear, terror, and horror. From the moment he was born as the son of his father, the image of the Tang family always existed above him. But now, it sounds funny to be scared. Tangjan was nothing outstanding when compared to that drunkard watching from behind. How could Jogul, who fought such a monster, even consider losing to this man? What did he get from Mount Hua? I received too much to speak of. So, the only option left was to show it off with his sword. Looking at Jogul's cold eyes, Tangjan was about to go when someone spoke up. Hyung! Tangjan turned his head. Do we need to use an axe to kill a chicken? Let me go. His younger brother, Tangho, walked ahead. This is something the righteous sword of Hua isn't coming out, so it wouldn't look good if my Hyung goes forward. Tangjan nodded his head. What he said wasn't wrong. It was important for people to act according to their standards. Tangjan whispered as he stepped back. Don't let him out of your hands. Of course. Tangho stood in front of Jogul and tucked his hand into his sleeve. Even if one had never seen them in action and only heard rumors of the Tang family, the meaning of this gesture was clear. When a member of the Tang family put their hands into their sleeve, it meant they were preparing any necessary poisons. Tangho of Sichuan Tang family. Mount Hua's Jogul. Tangho and Jogul locked eyes and glared at one another. The members of the Tang family were taught the faces of all the influential people they would need to rule, just as Jogul was taught from a young age to bow his head before the people of the Tang family. So, Jogul would never have dared to even meet Tangho's eyes in the past, but now he was doing just that and pointing his sword as well. Cheeky bastard! Tangho thought of shattering one of Jogul's hands to teach everyone a lesson. Tangho lightly touched a cowhair needle in his sleeve and scattered them. Dozens of fine needles that were nearly invisible to the naked eye made their way to Jogul at a formidable speed. This doesn't seem like such a big deal. Seeing that Jogul wasn't responding to his attack, Tangho felt elated. Once the needle hit, Jogul would be unable to move. It was then. Pat! Jogul's sword, which previously seemed unable to respond, was swung at a formidable speed. Kang! Jogul's sword deflected the dozens of thrown needles. Tangho was shocked, but he soon realized that this was too early to be surprised. Tat! Jogul's feet touched the ground, and his body shot for Tangho like lightning. Pang! Those who lose their composure cannot win. As he felt Jogul's sword smashing against his neck, Tangho collapsed. No way! Thud. Jogul looked at Tangho, who had fallen to the ground, and his lips twitched. He confidently looked at Tangjan in the face and loudly declared, Next! I always wanted to try doing this.